episode 114. Give me coffee to change the things I can, and wine to accept those I can't.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
This episode is dedicated and in loving memory to Jan Karel Klein, a personality of which the world has few. I'll see you on the other side, man. Welcome to the 114th episode of the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. Jan, as I mentioned earlier, passed away late last year in a motorcycle accident in the Philippines. And despite the fact that we only met once in person, we had a very good relationship over the phone and, through social and so on and so forth. And one of the last pictures he actually posted on his very frequented Facebook feed was one of these billboard signs with the letters that you stick to them, which said, "Give me coffee to change the things I can, and wine to accept those I can't." And this leads us back to, I think it was one of the, either the first, second, or third exercise episodes that we published, which was about really focusing on the things you can change and losing out of focus those you can't, simply because dedicating any amount of energy to something you cannot change is wasted energy and is more effectively used in something, or invested in something that you can change or alter or manipulate in any way, shape, or form. Right? And it's about getting used to that and, to focus your energy only on those things you can influence. And this, in a very funny way, close to 100 episodes later, was kind of like a sign to revisit this and, most importantly, ask you guys how successful you were in, applying the contents of this exercise to your daily life and, perhaps even to your professional life. More importantly, though, in these times, to the news cycle, and that you should basically and entirely tune out of it, because largely what we're listening to and observing and getting our info on is stuff that we cannot influence, unless it is something in the local media, which, has basically been gobbled up by multinational media houses and domineering players, and replaced with, scary, shitty news about how bad the world is. Well, the world isn't that bad. It's a pretty fucking cool world. Of course there's assholes in it, but they're everywhere. So, in that sense, I think, it's important to kind of reemphasize on this. And I thank Jan for essentially making me aware of this as one of his last posts in this world. And that's why I wanted to basically revisit this. Also, the coffee part represents the energy, basically, that you should invest. And you need to invest, in efforts in things that you actually can change. And the wine, of course, represents the calmness towards those things you cannot change and you should leave alone, by sitting back and watching them unfold. Because no matter what you do, you're not going to convince, 7+ billion people that this pandemic that we're having may not actually be as bad as it was sold to us in the beginning. And if it is as bad as it was sold to us in the beginning, then perhaps, 1.5 years in, or close to 1.5 years in, we should have learned better how to deal with it. I'm looking around left and right, talking to friends scattered across the globe, some of them stuck in places you don't necessarily want to be stuck in simply because they can't travel. Gives you kind of like a perspective on how, fragile this whole concept that we have established really is. So the economic crisis, that will almost definitely unfold upon us within 3 to 5 years, if you observe history. Trying to educate the ignorant about that this will happen and is inevitable is, insanely difficult. And it brought me, all put together in context, really down to the question, what is life worth? Right? This friend of mine, it was a very fucking stupid accident. He was riding his motorcycle on the road and somebody had left his car standing in the middle of the road because he wanted to get cigarettes from a shop that was on the roadside. So it was kind of like one of these things where you go, yeah, God damn it. You might as well have played the lottery that day. You would have won, surely, but at the end of the day, how affected are you really by what's going on? And that leads us back to this fear mongering that's really going on in a multitude of ways, right? For me, my life hasn't really been affected negatively. In fact, I've met so many people in my life that I don't really want to meet any more people, so even going out shopping is like, yeah, okay, it's got to be done. But if someone else can do it, or we can take a delivery service, I'll favor that. It's like, can I keep myself busy, with a huge house, with a huge, yeah, absolutely. Do I need to, go out to drink a coffee? No, I'll make it myself. We got a very good coffee machine in the house, so it's like, how much of the problems that people are actually emphasizing or, kind of putting into focus are actually really problems, or are some of those things really first world problems? Is it like the fact that you can't go to the gym? Is that really so bad? What about buying some dumbbells and weights for home, and just, exercising there? Yeah, it sucks not seeing friends, but at the end of the day, you still can. It's not like somebody's going to run, somebody's going to come in and bust you for, having 2 or maybe 4 friends over for dinner, right? That's all got to be put into perspective. And most countries are rather lax. In Germany, they will. Just read an article where 4 friends got together to cook a meal and share a meal together, and a total of 8 cops showed up and raided their place and gave them all steep fines for coming together against the regulations. And you're like, okay, we used to live in a country of reason, and some of the stuff that is going on is unreasonable, I have to admit. But again, how much of an impact does it have? And I think, the most interesting thing that is happening to a lot of people right now is a proof of what their relationship to their partner is really worth, right? Because looking back, 15 months, what was the relationship like for a lot of people, right? They came home from work late. If at all, they shared a meal together. Then, daddy sat in front of the computer and the iPad, and mommy sat in front of the computer and the iPad, or, did laundry or whatever. And daddy went into his garage to, fix something while drinking 3 beers, and then you would, if at all, sit down for an hour in front of the in front of the TV and fall asleep and then go to bed. And the next morning, the same day started over again, right? So now that people are stuck with each other, right, and have to, on a daily basis, be together, I think that's actually, a pretty cool proof if you make it through that in a relationship, your relationship is, rather manifested. So in this context of things you can versus you cannot change, there's also the fact of, do you need the change? Do you really need to change your life, by exterior influences? Like, I don't know, instead of going to the gym, go to the local lumber yard and ask them if you can, chuck wood, chop wood or whatever, or go to your neighbor and, ask them if they, need help with something, instead of going to the gym, exercise at home, save the hour of drive that you have, the commute. And, while you're doing that, do something to broaden your skill set. You'll probably need it. If shit hits the fan, which, more likely than not it will, then it's good to have extra skills. And trust me, it's going to be beneficial if these are physical. And that's something, where really a lot is put into perspective, especially about life, when, let's face it, right now and in the foreseeable future, we're pretty lucky, most importantly, put against our ancestors who, during the Spanish flu, had, totally different prerequisites to work with, just coming out of a war or being in a war, right? And I think it ended by then. No, it was ongoing, I think. And, then you have the economic crisis as almost an immediate consequence of that. And then you have still the Spanish flu, and you have a shitty medical situation in a lot of countries, which are, now conceived to be civilized. And it's just really interesting to reflect upon that for a moment and ask whether the challenges that we're facing and the change that we, that has been put upon us is really so bad at the end, or have we just mislearned to make the most of it? So in that sense, I think we're going to wrap it up. Most importantly is the takeaway that, you should invest no energy in things you cannot change, but rather take that energy that you would and invest that in things that you can change. So in that sense, don't necessarily share this episode because I think the exercise bit, I can't remember which one it was. Look it up. It's called Change, really. Just enter Change in the search engine or in the search box on the website and you'll find it. It's really one of the episodes that got the most positive feedback because it helped a lot of people. So, maybe something to actually help you. So in that sense, we're going to wrap it up. Subscribe if you haven't. This was a very reflective episode, I must admit. But I hope nonetheless interesting and a good review, I think, for this things you can versus things you cannot change. And I'll see you tomorrow. And then we're going to talk about something I haven't really decided upon because there are 3 episodes left that are kind of like the runners up. And be surprised what it's going to be tomorrow. Have a successful day. If you already have a good night, and we'll be in touch tomorrow. See you soon. Stay safe, folks.